Hey there, Cinemaster fans! Hope you're ready for some movie magic. Let's dive right in. The movie The Crossing begins with a corpse was washed ashore by the waves. Detectives Jude and his colleague Rodrigo discovered it and discussed the cause of death on the shore. Jude happened to look up and saw 3 more corpses on the shore. He brought Rodrigo over and dragged those who might still be alive toward the shore. While rescuing the last little girl, Jude found she still had a pulse, so he carried her away from the sea. Jude immediately called out to Rodrigo, telling him to request a rescue. Rodrigo quickly radioed the rescue team. However, after putting down the communication device, he stared blankly at the sea and shouted Jude's name loudly. Next, they witnessed the most terrifying scene in their professional careers. As the waves continued to surge, more and more corpses were pushed toward Jude and Rodrigo by the force of the seawater. Soon, the police rescue team arrived at the scene. Helicopters hovered overhead. Searchlights illuminated the coastline, shrouded in darkness. Nearby fishing boats and other vessels were also requisitioned for the sea rescue. Countless team members carried stretchers and rescue equipment, rushing between the sea and the shore, transporting corpses and carrying people showing signs of life onto stretchers, transferring them to safe areas. Some survivors, after being rescued, kissed the ground with gratitude, while others, upon waking up, were devastated and lay on the bodies of their deceased relatives, crying. This rescue operation lasted until late at night. It consumed a great deal of manpower and resources. Busy until dawn, they finally salvaged all the corpses floating on the sea surface and brought them ashore. After handling the last corpse and following precise calculations by the police, they concluded there were over 400 corpses and 47 survivors. Jude could not figure out what disaster had caused so many deaths. On the other side, his assistant Rodrigo seemed to have discovered something. He told Jude that none of the over 400 corpses were wearing life jackets. Not even the most basic survival equipment was present after a police investigation. No damaged ships or other vehicles were found at sea. After the police contacted the authorities and expanded the search area, they announced that no crashed planes or ships had been found. So where exactly had all these victims come from? To find out the truth of the tragedy, Jude went to the tent where survivors were being sheltered. Inside, he saw the little girl he had rescued first. Jude stepped forward to question her. He asked if she remembered any accident before she fell into the water, whether there were any other survivors besides them, and if she could provide any clues to assist with the investigation. Wrapped in warm clothes, the little girl recalled her experience before falling into the water. She told Jude she had come here with her mother, but she couldn't remember the details clearly. She only remembered her mother had pushed her onto the shore, but after she woke up, she never saw her mother again, and her mother's body wasn't among the corpses either. To uncover the truth, Jude continued to ask where they had come from. The girl's answer was beyond all of Jude's assumptions. He had originally thought the incident was caused by a vacation cruise ship accident. Unexpectedly, these people had come here to escape a war. The war was happening here, on the land he was standing on. This statement confused Jude. There could be no war in the city where he lived. Just as he was about to ask more questions, a survivor behind him told him they had indeed come here to escape the war. But at this point in time, the tragic war hadn't yet come to this place. The information provided by the two people left Jude unable to process it. In the end, he believed these survivors had suffered mental trauma, leading to unrealistic fantasies. The next day, the police sent a large number of investigators to conduct investigations and interviews with the survivors. Through registration and investigation, they discovered a very serious problem. During the interview process, the female detective and her assistant discovered that no matter who they were, their date of birth was 150 years after the current time. This time, the paradox made the detectives present unable to believe it. The survivors also told them that in the future, there was an organization named Apex. Its members seemed to have undergone genetic modification and were stronger than ordinary adults. And the organization behind them, in order to promote an evolution policy and accelerate the pace of human evolution, actually targeted ordinary people. Ordinary people without evolutionary genes were massacred, and the reason Apex dared to do this was its own strong capabilities. As for its purpose, it was to keep humans with evolutionary abilities to provide better genes for the subsequent reproduction of humanity. And now these survivors, including the over 400 corpses, were trying to escape the killings by Apex. So at the critical moment in the future, they took a time machine and fled to the present to seek refuge. However, there was something wrong with their machine on the way. It actually miscalculated the location and dropped their target into the sea. Most of them drowned in the sea. Although the police officers didn't believe these absurd words, the consistent story from all the survivors forced them to take this information seriously. After registering all the information they had obtained, the police officers quickly left to report to their superiors. The little girl who was rescued first was different from the others. She left the camp alone and stood desolately by the shore, wondering where her mother could be. Meanwhile, the woman the little girl was thinking about woke up up on a fishing boat. She had been rescued by a fishing boat working at sea, but after waking up, the woman remained extremely vigilant. She remembered that, in order to keep her daughter alive, she had pushed her out of the sea when the time machine fell into the water, and the reciprocal force pushed her into the deeper part of the seabed. Fortunately, she was rescued by kind fishermen on a fishing boat. Later, she followed the fishermen to shore. They invited the woman to have a meal at a restaurant. It was also in this restaurant that the woman saw a news report on TV about over 400 corpses appearing on the shore. The police spokesperson was Jude, the officer who first discovered the corpses. As she watched the news, the woman's expression was unreadable. On the other side, Jude, who had finished handling the formalities, got into a police car and prepared to go to the shore to investigate evidence. Before he could start the car, he noticed something was wrong. Immediately after, the woman rescued by the fisherman pressed the muzzle of a gun against the back of Jude's head. The woman told Jude to take her to the shore to see the discovered corpses. Under the threat of the gun, Jude took the woman to the factory building where the corpses were stored. But at this moment, he couldn't take her inside because this place, as the scene of a major case, had already been taken over by the security bureau. Anyone who wanted to enter had to go through strict inspection, but the woman seemed very capable. After just a brief observation of the surrounding terrain, she formulated a thorough infiltration plan. First, the woman threatened Jude and made him destroy the power switch in order to draw out the police officers and make them come out to check the circuit. Then, the woman took advantage of the gap and entered the hall where the corpses were stored. Looking at the corpses sealed in plastic bags, the woman looked very flustered. She feared that she would find her daughter's body here. Jude noticed that the woman was specifically checking the corpses of children, and he wondered what exactly she was looking for. After searching through the corpses and not finding her daughter, she held the gun and asked Jude, "Are these all the people here?" The woman's question confused Jude. After all, she had only asked to see the corpses and had never mentioned wanting to see the survivors. When she heard Jude's reply, the tension in the woman's heart eased a little, but before she could say anything, the lights suddenly turned on. Jude also took advantage of the moment the woman was stunned to take back the gun and restrain her. The three men thought they had the upper hand, but they didn't expect the woman to be even more agile. First, she knocked the gun out of Jude's hand and sent him staggering. She first knocked out Jude and the gun in his hand, then kicked over another police officer and overthrew the last one. Then, she turned around and ran faster and faster with a sudden burst of speed. She jumped out of the room. This series of superhuman actions left Jude in disbelief. The police who received the report watched the surveillance video repeatedly. Faced with the woman's superhuman physical fitness, the female police officer was shocked. She didn't know why someone could possess such superhuman strength and speed. What shocked her even more was yet to come. Jude told the female police officer that this was just a small matter. Even the steel cable he used to lock his shotgun had been broken by the woman with her bare hands. Such terrifying strength was beyond what a human being could possess. The female police officer contacted her superiors and reported the news she had gotten from Jude. At the same time, she also uncovered another crucial piece of information. One of the survivors told her that this group wasn't the only batch of future people who had traveled back in time. He told the police that before this group of time travelers, someone had already successfully returned to the present. On the other side, the escaped woman stood by the shore thinking about her daughter. Just then, a man appeared behind her holding a gun and threatening to take all the money she had. It was clear that he had picked the wrong person. When he appeared again, his face was covered in blood after being beaten by the woman to evade the police's pursuit. The woman found a hideout and discovered a book about automobiles inside. In just a quarter of an hour of reading, she had mastered all the assembly skills in the book and assembled the car by herself. With this car, the woman packed her weapons and drove out the next day to find her daughter. She hadn't driven far when she found herself being watched by a police car. The police inside are subordinates of Officer Jude. It turned out that not long ago, Jude had received a report from a junior officer about the woman and the car she was driving. After confirming the vehicle's information, Jude ordered his subordinate to drive and follow her immediately. After filing the report and receiving the order, the young policeman decided to follow the woman's car. But just as he got out of the car to inspect, the woman sensed the approaching danger and took out a steel knife from her bag. However, not knowing the laws of this era, she didn't act recklessly. Instead, she turned the car around to try to shake off the policeman. Seeing the car start, the policeman didn't hesitate and drove the police car to chase after her. The two chased each other all the way to the outskirts of the city. The policeman found the car the woman had abandoned. After confirming it was empty, he was shocked by this result. He looked around and found that the woman had disappeared from the area enclosed by the high wall nearby. The woman who had disappeared from the policeman's sight took the initiative to go to the police station. At this moment, looking at the woman, Jude had no idea what her purpose was in coming here. Faced with Jude's questioning, the woman stated her purpose for coming, finding her daughter. The identity of a mother eager to find her daughter moved Jude. He took the woman to a shipyard near the city, but he lied to her, saying that all the survivors from the shore had been transferred to the shipyard by the security bureau. After that, he took the woman into the factory. Jude's persuasion diverted the woman's attention, leading her into a secret room. After the woman walked into the room without any caution, Jude closed the door behind him, trying to trap the woman inside. Realizing she had been tricked, the woman fired a gun at Jude, but no matter how strong she was, she couldn't break through the several-meter-thick door panel. After closing the door, Jude let out a sigh of relief and called the police. He found the female detective and wanted to cooperate with her to solve this time travel case. This also had his own selfish motives. Whether for a promotion or other purposes, he didn't want the case that occurred in the town under his jurisdiction to become a stepping stone for higher-ranking leaders. The female detective immediately drove to the shipyard, but 2 helicopters belonging to the National Security Bureau arrived before the female detective. It turned out that the female detective's phone had been monitored by the Security Bureau. Before the female detective could arrive, the Security Bureau personnel had already reached the shipyard first. By the time Jude saw the helicopters, it was too late to react. Countless smoke grenades poured into the room, and Jude, affected by the smoke, lost consciousness. The Security Bureau agents, who were unaware of how dangerous the woman was, actually unlocked the door that was restraining her. Fortunately, due to the effect of the knockout drug, the woman also fell into a coma. But all of this was just a trick played by the woman. When the National Security Bureau agents let down their guard and tried to move forward to investigate, the woman took down all the special police officers who had entered. Seeing more and more enemy reinforcements arriving, the woman didn't linger in the fight. She dragged her shoulder, which had been injured in the scuffle, and jumped into the sea to escape. The reason the National Security Bureau launched an operation against the woman was that the leader had spoken to the female detective the previous day, after the female detective told the leader about the information she had obtained. Multiple batches of refugees traveling through time via time machines. The leader arranged an advanced meeting with the male refugee who had revealed the news of multiple batches of refugees traveling through time. When this man met the leader, he stated that before his batch of time travelers, others had already arrived in this era. Furthermore, unlike him, those people had not come to flee disaster or war. Those people had come with a more evil plan. He told the leader that if not stopped, the plan brought by these people could even change the historical course of the entire country. But before the man could finish speaking, the leader's reply and reaction left the survivor panicked. The leader told him that he was part of the previous batch of people who had traveled back in time. After that, the survivor who had provided the clue was secretly detained by the leader after confirming that the news of multiple batches of time travelers wouldn't leak out. The leader found his associate and told him that he believed members of the Apex organization had infiltrated this batch of time travelers. It was clear that this associate also knew the leader's plan and was aware of his identity. To prevent members of the Apex organization from sabotaging their plan, the associate decided to go and take care of the woman himself. However, this group of leaders who had traveled back in time didn't know that in addition to stating they were future people from 150 years later who had come to escape the war, the refugees had also revealed an even more crucial clue. That is, in the future, the Apex organization had developed a virus called the mantle virus. Once a human is infected with this virus, death is inevitable. Moreover, in the later stage, the Apex organization genetically edited the virus, making it only infect ordinary people who lack superior genes and couldn't evolve. What made the police even more terrified was that the little girl was a carrier of the virus. After collecting blood samples from the survivors for testing, they confirmed this terrifying news. After confirming it was the mantle virus, the police didn't know what decision to make. On the other side, after escaping the Security Bureau's pursuit, the woman went to a location and took out a bullet from her shoulder. However, her location was detected by technological equipment. After confirming her location, the Security Bureau dispatched special forces to surround and eliminate her. But when they arrived at the woman's location, they found no trace of their target. Instead, the woman had left provocative words on a mirror. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get more new videos. See you next time.